Hello, I'm Brandon, and today I'm going to show you how to put a B18 intake cam in your 91 Honda Prelude. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Extreme Daily Drivers, where we're always balling on a budget and wrenching in our garage. This is an amazing episode if you have a third-gen Honda Prelude, if you've been researching about how to make this car faster with the stock engine. This is kind of like a old wives' tale that we're going to prove true today. So let's go ahead and get started. So the old wives' tale that I'm referring to is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. A lot of guys who had these cars 20 years ago were trying to figure out how to make them faster before they started doing H22 swaps and F20B swaps and B-series swaps that we can do now and everything else. So they tried to squeeze every last bit of horsepower out of their engine, just like we are. And the way that they did it is they found out that if you take a cam from an Integra, specifically a B18 engine, the intake cam, if you take the intake cam from a B18 and put it in your B21 or your B20A engine and your Prelude, you can actually pick up some horsepower, and also will give you a chance to install some adjustable cam gears and maybe tweak that timing a little bit to get even more. So before I go ahead and jump right into this on exactly what needs to be done in order to get this in your car, I want to give a quick shout out to Chris over at Lazy Man Garage. Go ahead and follow him on YouTube. I follow Chris, and we had a little chat offline on Instagram, and I asked him if he had a B18 cam. He said he did. He's got a bunch of Honda parts laying around his house, and he was cool enough to send it to me for free. So Chris, thank you so much. Guys, go over to Lazy Man Garage, make sure you sub, check out Chris's videos. And second of all, I want to give a big shout out to Steve. And Steve, I hope I'm saying this right. Bellevue? I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, if you don't know Steve, go to any Facebook page that has to do with third-gen Preludes. He has a 450 horsepower B21 turbocharged engine with like 385 foot-pounds of torque. The thing's a monster. So Steve has, I believe, come up with this idea many years ago of taking this different cam and putting it in the car. He's done crazy amounts of research, which I'm going to put a link in the description as to why we're doing this, where all the information is, as to why this is actually going to make a difference in the car. So once again, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Steve. Without you guys, this video wouldn't be happening. So anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so what we got here is a stock B21 intake cam and cam gear, and now we have the B18 cam and cam gear. Here's maybe a better angle so you can see the similarities between the two gears. You can see that the intake cam that came out of my engine originally was damaged due to lack of oil, too much heat, etc. But anyway, this B18 cam is not a drop-in replacement. You have to get it machined. This cam is actually too long. Okay, so the ends down here that will go into the distributor, I'll turn it around so you can see it better. Anyway, these are identical, okay, but the part up here that actually goes to the gear, this is actually longer, significantly longer, maybe a ½ inch or ¼ inch or something like that. So what you have to do in order to get one of these in your car is you have to take it to a machine shop and have them shorten this part, and I forget what that's actually called when they do it, but anyway, shorten this part because it's too long, and then they have to cut off the remaining end piece. Then you either have to do one of two things. You have to either shorten your woodruff key, or you have to elongate the hole that the woodruff key sits in. So I'm going to go into more of that once we start installing these. So what exactly is this supposed to do? It's supposed to give you some more horsepower, especially on the top end, and it should give you quicker throttle response. So the intake cam I got for free, and having the machine shop, CW Pence here in Orlando, actually shorten it for me was I think $60. So really $60, we get some extra horsepower, and then I got some adjustable cam gears by VMS Racing that we're going to install. And when we get this back to the dyno here in a couple weeks, the tuner should be able to manipulate the cam gears a little bit to get us a little bit more, probably top end, when all's said and done. So to install the cam gear is basically kind of like doing a timing belt job without removing the belt and the tensioner and the water pump. So what we're going to do is get this valve cover off. That wasn't so hard. Now we're going to get this top dead center. Let's go ahead and loosen that 12mm tension bolt, and we should be able to slide off our timing belt. Alright, we got our timing belt off. We got our exhaust cam locked in with a little drill bit. Not doing this one right now because that's the one that's actually coming out. That's the intake cam. And now we're going to go ahead and remove the distributor, which you can see I went ahead and marked up there so I know where to put it when we reinstall it so the timing stays the same. Right, distributor removed. So now we're going to start undoing these cam caps. There is a loosening sequence. Whenever you're messing with timing, you should always be referring to your manual. And so it says here, unscrew the camshaft holder bolts 2 turns at a time using a crisscross pattern on non-VTEC engines. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Alright, so the cam caps are out. Laid them on the bench in order so I don't make a mistake putting them back in. And here's our camshaft. It's the intake camshaft, as stamped right there on the actual cam. And obviously it's the one closest to the intake manifold. So I made a little bit of a mistake. I need to get this cam gear off. I wasn't really worried about the cam gear because I'm replacing it. But I do need to get that cam gear off because I am going to reuse that cam seal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's only got like 10,000 miles on it. So I'm going to go ahead and reuse it. Okay, so here you can see a better idea of what was actually done to this B18 cam. So if you see that line there, so this had to be barreled or rolled. I forget what the actual terminology is. But this part here was, what is that, 1/8 of an inch further that way. Okay, so they went ahead and ground that down, and then the shaft itself was 1/4 inch longer, so I went ahead and cut that down, and then also instead of shortening the woodruff key, they elongated or lengthened the slot that the woodruff key sits in. So that's what needs to be done in order to get one of these B18s into your B21 or your B20A. Alright, so I swapped over the cam seal, and this is the VMS gold adjustable cam gear that I got here, as well as Downstar hardware center cam bolt for B series engines. So if you go to Downstar, you'll never find anything for any kind of Prelude engine on there except for maybe H22, but pretty much any B series is going to use the same type of hardware. So if you're looking to buy hardware, Downstar is the place to go and just get B series stuff and it should work. If you look right here, you can see that the cam gear is set at basically 0, so it's not advanced or retarded. And I'm going to crank down these bolts to make sure they're good and tight, and we're going to leave it at 0. It actually looks like it's off a little bit, so I need to get that right on that dead center line. But we're going to go ahead and leave this at 0, and then when we get to the tuner will make the adjustments whether to advance or retard the intake as well as the exhaust cams. Alright, so I tightened up those cam gear bolts and got them dropped in here. I put some fresh oil on the cam. Everything looks good. I need to make sure that I can get a wrench on that because I don't want to install it and then not be able to get a wrench on there to tighten that down. I tightened it down a little bit, but I really am going to need to be able to get an Allen wrench all the way in there to tighten that. So let me figure that part out, but I'm going to start reinstalling the cam caps. Alright, so we're making good progress. I got the cam back on, I got the cam caps on. They have a torque sequence, and you should be using a torque wrench on those. It's all right here in your book, so make sure you're using that. I got my distributor back on. I got 2 of the 3 bolts in there because the third one's a pain in the butt with such little room in the garage. I got my cam gear on there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to bust off that nut there and put on the other cam gear. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to take the adjustable wrench, slide it down there to hold it while we crank off that bolt, and then we'll slap the new cam gear on. Nice. Alright, check it out. Boom, top dead center hash mark. Belt is on, and you can see those indents down there are lined up. So there is no more top on the cam gears, but they do have the little dots. I don't know if you can see those by the retard and advanced settings. There's a little dot on top, and we got those. They match up. So we're good. That was actually incredibly easy. I can't believe that's the easiest I've ever done it. Probably because the belt stretched. Real quick about the timing belt. Always use your book when you're doing timing belt stuff, because you will forget, trust me. So, you get the belt on like I had it. And remember, we got that screw down there, that bolt that we got to tighten down. That's the tensioner. You don't just tighten that down. You have to rotate the engine 3 teeth of the gears. And then you tighten that tensioner bolt down there to 31 foot-pounds. So don't forget to do that, or you have all sorts of problems. Alright, we got our belt adjusted. Belt's on, cam gears on. Cam gear bolts are tight. I hacked up a Allen wrench so that it'll fit in there nicely. So now we have to do the dreaded valve lash. I'm only going to do the intake side because I didn't mess with the exhaust side, and I know the exhaust is good because I didn't do it. Bobby the Wizard did the exhaust and the intake, but now that I messed with everything, I have to do the intake side. Like I said before, you're going to mess with timing, you're going to mess with valve lash, you're going to mess with anything like you can't screw up. Make sure you're using the book. So I had to cut it kind of short. I did get the car back together, but I'm running up a killer tight schedule crunch right now. But anyway, when I initially started the car up, it ran terribly. And the check engine light came on. So I went ahead and adjusted my timing, which is way off. And I went ahead and redid my idle, reset my idle. So now the car is idling fine. Everything's good. However, I still got check engine light. So I don't know why I have that check engine light. I really need to read the code. I can't even read the code anymore because I don't have that ECU anymore. Okay, so I just remember that. All right, so this car needs to get to a tuner stat. So yeah, that's gonna happen sooner rather than later. I don't think I'm gonna drive the car until I get it tuned. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be the next video. As far as how does the car feel right now, it feels like it always does. It doesn't, I mean, maybe actually a little bit more sluggish. It doesn't feel like killer fast or anything like that. It's going, it's not showing any signs of problems other than the check engine light. But I really need to get the car tuned. So anyway, I hope you learned something today. I can't wait to get to that dyno. You know, we made 137 last time we were out there. I've since changed the exhaust. I've since changed the air filter. I've changed fuel injectors, and I've changed now a camshaft with adjustable cam gears. So hopefully that gets me to 150 horsepower. Stay tuned. It's coming up soon. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hey, check out the website, extremedailyDrivers.com. I'll see you next time. Later.